The Republican nominee is incumbent Senator John Boozman. He joins us now on 4029 News on the Record. Senator Boozman, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us here on 4029 News on the Record. The first question, we're going to jump right into the issues, is the question of abortion. Should abortion, after Roe versus Wade was overturned with the Hobbs decision, should the federal government have any say in abortion, particularly when it comes to exemptions?
Well, I think the Supreme Court got it right when they said they didn't outlaw abortion. What they said was that there was no constitutional ability to do it. And so as a result, they sent it to the states, not federal judges making these decisions, but the people that were closest to people, sending it out to the states and getting them to weigh in through their legislators. So I think that's the correct decision.
Inflation, gas prices just rising again, and a lot of Americans are struggling. And here in Arkansas, same situation. What is the federal government's role in helping just everyday Americans with these rising costs?
You know, there's really two causes to inflation. First of all, excessive spending. We saw after the pandemic, President Biden came into power, and the first thing they did was pass a $1.9, essentially a $2 trillion spending bill. Their economists, people like Larry Summers that are very well respected, said, no, you know, this is not good. It's going to cause inflation. Then they turned around and passed another $750 billion spending bill. These are massive amounts of money. And so when you put so much money in circulation, it essentially dilutes the currency. The other thing that's driving it is the energy cost. Everything that we do depends on being shipped, transported in some way. And then again, us transporting ourselves in our vehicles, gasoline being so expensive, diesel being so expensive. So energy, not only that, but your utilities, natural gas, the list goes on and on. So as a result of that, the average Arkansan now, that you need $659 a month just to break even from a year ago. Initially, they said this is transitory. We've been at 8.2% inflation for the last 7 months. So it is a major thing. It's the thing I hear about most as I'm out and about visiting with the people of Arkansas. So you can't declare war on oil and gas. You can't say that we're going to reduce drilling, eliminate it on federal lands, make it more difficult. I'm an all of the above guy. We need to use all of the energy that the Lord has blessed us with, and that's really what makes us unique in the world, rather than depending on Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, people that don't like us very much.
Well, we are also providing a lot of money for aid to Ukraine in the war against Russia. Do you believe that the United States is providing enough aid? Should we cut back some? And what about our involvement in Ukraine overall?
Well, I think right now that we are doing the right thing. I was concerned early on because we really didn't have a plan. We can't just, willy-nilly send money over, and that's essentially what was proposed at the beginning. The people of Ukraine are some of the bravest people in the world. We can be very proud of that. We need to be supportive. They were also one of the most corrupt countries in the world, prior to the invasion. So we need to send the dollars. We need to have a plan. We need an exit plan. All of these kind of things. We also need a plan to replenish our armaments that we're sending over. So there's a lot of moving parts, but it is very important. The reason being is that the Chinese are watching. If they see us weak there, if they see the Allies not stay together, and they've done such a great job, and the Europeans are doing a good job also ponying up and being supportive. We can't do this alone. Everybody working together. The Chinese are watching, though, and if we're not strong, then I think we'll look at Taiwan. If Taiwan's invaded, Japan will go nuclear overnight. South Korea, nuclear overnight. We'll have nuclear proliferation in that part of the world. none of these things would make us any safer. Sadly, I think a big reason that Ukraine was there in the first place was the debacle that we had in Afghanistan, where sadly we lost 13 Americans. We essentially told the Afghanis that had helped us so much to see you later, go talk to the Taliban about your safety. And so that was not a good thing.
What about the student loan debt forgiveness program? Are we doing the right thing there?
No, we're not. And, this is really a huge problem. The first thing we need to do is make it such that, that higher education is more affordable. We're in a situation now where the inflation rate of higher education has been so much greater than normal. And the reason that they've been able to do that is to give out student loans that there's no counseling involved. They essentially give you the money. Nobody can be refused. So President Biden didn't have the authority to do what he did. He went forward unilaterally himself. And previously it said that he didn't have the authority, but here it is election time. The numbers are waning for the Democrats. And so as a result, he did this. But it's so unfair. Why, Eunice, should a family that's making $250,000 get $20,000 in loan relief, where a hardworking family in Arkansas that maybe makes $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, whatever, they get absolutely nothing. Also, those that just paid their loans off before the date that this is enacted, they get nothing. If you just took a loan out, you get everything. As far as $10,000 to $20,000. So the whole program was not thought out well at all. That's what you get into when you just have, just an administration. You don't do this legislatively. You don't consult with Congress. You don't consult with the stakeholders. You get very bad policy, and that's one of those.
All right, Senator Boozman, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us here on 4029 News. On the record, the Republican nominee. Thank you.
Appreciate you.